Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo. We're here at Emerson College, Hollywood. I'm delighted to be joined with Robin with his fantastic movie, Wang. Let's take a look at the clip.
Wang! Hello!
Luca! Wang, what do you want to do today?
Oh, I'm actually here to see you, Mrs. Francis.
I'm so happy to see you in person.
Me too.
You came back.
Here. Yes, yeah.
Robin, I'm really becoming a fan of your films now. I love this film so much. There's so many questions I have. But for those that haven't seen it, tell us a brief synopsis.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Danny. Wei is a story about a 9-year-old Chinese-American boy who doesn't feel loved by his own family. So he ran away to his best friend's family and offered himself up for adoption.
I mean, there's so much context in there, and there's laughter, and then you have me in tears. Like, there's a lot you've unpacked in this film, and it's so beautifully written and really well directed and very well acted. Where did the inspiration come for you, Robin, in deciding to make this story into a film?
Yeah, totally. So the story is, this project is actually one of the collaborative thesis project that USC has, in which a director pairs up with a writer, with a producer, and went through a very competitive pitching process to get the film made. And then each semester they select 3 of those projects. And so I was faced with 25 scripts.
Wow.
In the finalist pool of scripts, and I was reading through all of them, and Wei is the last one I read. And the moment I read it, I knew that this is a story I want to tell. The story is sort of kind of inspired by the writers, who's a Canadian Asian American, and then his childhood, and basically. And the theme of the parental estrangement, the generational disconnect, the diaspora, and the spiritual homelessness that we all felt.
Yeah.
It's something that sort of resonate with us as people who came to the United States or a different culture or the Western society in the first or second generation.
It's so beautifully articulated into the film, and I think when I was watching it, I thought, oh my goodness me, this is such an important film to share as well, you know, especially from the perspective of this, you know, young kid as well. There's so many, you know, wonderful comedic moments in there, sentimental moments in there. Like, there's so much to unpack. I actually wanted it to be a feature film. It was so good. It must have been quite an interesting one to direct for you, Robin. Like, how was that experience? Of course, got a great experience working with young actors, but also, you know, and really it was very colorful to watch as well. How is it for you as a director? Because you did a really good job.
Yeah, well, thank you. Absolutely. And I think the toughest job for directing this one is to nail the tone of the entire film, because it's balancing the laughs and the tears, and then it's in some ways using the laughters to look at the tears, and then but towards at the end of the day, I felt that's the most authentic experience for us as human beings, because life is full of laughs and tears, and it's a bittersweet moment that made a comedy that's not facetious, but more bittersweet, and something that sort of lingers on and has like a meaning towards the end of it.
Yeah.
So nailing the balance between comedy and heart is very difficult, and
you did a really good job with that, because it was you really had to keep a balance in this film quite well.
Right. Yeah, and even you know, who takes and to me, it's like who sort of takes on the primary role of the comedy, in which case it's the white parents, who takes on the primary role of drama and have the film more grounded. Is more of the Asian parents and their interactions. So there's sort of a balance between, you know, what is being slightly pushed and what is down to earth and back to the heart.
There was definitely moments, and then I was like, you know, I just didn't want to. I know it sounds. I was like feeling so much for his real parents, and I was like, it was like painful, because you're like, they're such beautiful human beings working really hard, and I love the way it all kind of came together. I really want to give away the ending, but I won't, so you got to watch it if you've seen it. But it was really beautiful how it all kind of came together at the end. How is it working with, firstly, your cast, how you brought your cast together? always think you have a great cast, and obviously these two young stars in there as well, and then a really great parents on both sides as well.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's first of all, it's like ensemble cast. It's about not just one person and how they interact and relate to other people around them. So there was a lot of thought of giving to what kind of two kids are the best two buddies, and then they have their really have their great chemistry, because children are. They have not yet acquired the classically trained skills of acting, and then so they're basically playing themselves.
Yeah.
And that's the toughest part, because we were basically sort of exhausting the entire LA child acting agency. When we got the script, we know that this is a story that lives in the cast, and then this is a story that lives in the directing and the performance aspect, and how people play out with their chemistries. So for the child actings, for the main cast, Arthur, we found him in a Chinese child acting academy.
Oh, really cool.
Yeah, like it's basically like a school where like their parents send their kids to not just act, but also learn how to play and sing and dance and
That's
drum.
great.
It's a really cool place. And then and then we went through some 30 kids there, and then and of course there's a traditional approach of casting, which is breakdown and backstage, the word of mouth, and then spreading of the casting flyers, and then there's we went very resourceful, went to all the child acting agencies like Coast to Coast or Offspring and all that, and then and we got a lot of help from them, and then we really appreciate that. The other kid we got from Breakdown Express submission.
Oh, cool.
They didn't respond to us in the first like. Oh, not. No, that's the kid. It's and as for the parents, there are very few Mandarin-speaking actors who can play dads and moms. Just because of specific requirements, like people who speak Mandarin like native, as if they grew up in the culture, and people who can and willing to take student films, and people who are good. So it's very hard.
Well, you nailed the parents; they were fantastic.
Oh, thanks. And that's it's very small pool of people. I would say it's hard, but it's also not hard. It's just because it's just those people, and then for the white parents, it's like it's submission and winnowing through, and then recommendation, word of mouth. It's really
Speaking of his parents, I thought his dad really resonated with me, and I think it really proved how love can come in many different ways, and like love expression in different countries, different cultures, different families, like is so beautiful, and everything's unique, and I think that was really well articulated. But I'm so curious for his real father, how, like, I think he said so much without saying so much, and it was so beautiful seeing that articulate, and his mom was also beautiful too. How did you kind of go about directing that? Because it was very touching.
Right. Yeah. So I think it goes back to what's true, and like growing up, I have countless sort of fights with my dad, and then I just like, because we were trying to nail the ending, and then we're trying to sort of really find the balance of the tone. What kind of ending is this? Is this like because there was one point in the development where it's a full-blown happy ending. Oh, I'm sorry, and I'm not that kind of thing. But like, but towards the end, I go back to sort of ask myself and ourselves, like, what is it that I just recall the countless moments that I had arguments or fight with my dad, and every time we did it, the next day or even that same afternoon, like my dad just asked me, "What do you want for dinner?" And and it is as if nothing has happened.
I loved it. I really, honestly, like, you really nailed the ending. I was tearing up. It was really beautiful and sentimental. So what was maybe from sorry, it's flying away. What was the biggest challenge you had making this film?
I guess directorially, well, one is the nailing the balance between comedy and drama, and then the other is I guess the portrayal of the father and the son, because in class there were sort of sort of doubts about what is the portrayal of this father. There's a very big difference between abusive versus strict but loving.
Yeah.
It's a very fine
sure.
line, because if it's and it comes back to comes down to how our culture currently perceives corporal punishment, and how I guess the Western liberal side of society is sort of taking shape, but that goes back to the theme of the disconnect between the things the like sort of our parent generation were sort of like left behind, which could there was a lot of things about saying like the dad being irredeemable and then being abusive, because there was a shot about the kid's butt.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
But given how hard it is, and tone, I mean, comes to a lot to play with that, because it could very easily turn into a serious dark drama about child abuse. At moments, it requires a lot of finessing with tone, and which is why I think like tone was to me the biggest like directorial challenge. But along with that, I think the portrayal of the father and the father-son relation is at the heart.
Yeah, no, it definitely came across really well, and you know, I mean, yes, I was definitely a generation that was, you know, smacked on the backside. Anyways, what do you? I mean, I'm really glad that you chose this script. Really glad you directed it. You know, kind of taken out there to festivals and things. Like, how's the audience reaction been for you?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think because I attended a lot of screenings, and people like I think they really like it.
Yeah, of course.
And then they I think it hits tonally, because as a comedy director, you can hear when people laugh, and in a room, I think they're laughing at the right moments, and I think I generally got pretty nice response. I think.
Oh yeah, Robin, don't worry. It's only because you've got a lot of feelings in there. There's a lot of themes to unpack. You go from happy to sad to laughing to crying. So it's a full-rounded film. What is next for you, Robin?
Well, I'm currently co-directing a feature film. It's one of the cool things at USC, where 11 directors were directing a feature film. It's set in the 1920s, Al Capone, Chicago.
Oh wow!
It's a gangster love story called Jack and Lou, and basically. It's a class where 11 directors they divide up the whole script into 11 episodes, and each person had like 7-8 pages, and I was one of the directors. I was just directing yesterday.
How was that experience?
It was great. It was great. Yeah. Got to work with a lot of really talented people, and this is by far one of the most top productions in terms of production value, in terms of camaraderie and everything. It's just I can't wait to see the results. I have a phone booth shooting scene in Universal Studios.
I can't wait to see it. Oh, really? Is that that's amazing?
Yeah.
Good job. That's very exciting. Well, I mean, you're almost getting to the graduate. Upstaged by a plane or a helicopter.
Hold for a plane.
Hold for a plane. You've heard that before, right?
Yesterday you did. Flying everywhere.
Now, when you come to graduate, are you gonna? What's the next ventures once you come out of graduate? What you want to go moving into?
Right. Other than the feature film, I have another short film coming up about the 1910 Manchurian plague. I'm getting into period pieces.
I love it.
But I think as a director and storyteller, I'm interested in stories about diaspora and spiritual homelessness, and the theme were people, because I am someone who constantly move across physical and cultural borders, and I grew up in China, and I went to high school in Singapore, and I went to Duke for undergrad. I believe I said in the graduation too. But anyway,
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, but constantly I'm just sort of moving from place to places, and just sort of explore what does home and what does love mean in our world.
I love that. And do you find, because I mean, you know, traveling, especially as a creative artist, as an artist, do you find that kind of supports you in your filmmaking and understanding? Does that help you?
Yeah, totally. It broadens my perspectives for sure, and then it's just like also, I mean, America is like cosmopolitan enough, and then just constantly I think be filmmaker is just be constantly nosy and curious. And
Yeah.
just like constantly be excited about things around you.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely, absolutely. Well, I
yeah.
always love that you give us a challenge, with the work that you do, and I'm looking forward to seeing much more because I think you got a great depth of how you put things out there. So, thank you to you. I feel like you're already like accomplished so much. I forget that you're still about to graduate. It's insane. But like in your experience thus far, even since we last spoke together, for our filmmaker audience out here, for our ones on the screen, what piece of advice can you share that you've learned maybe from your experience thus far that helps you?
Just keep making films, I guess, and there's no excuse for not making films nowadays.
Yes.
If you're a writer, just write. I think even for me, I think I need to constantly keep writing.
Yeah.
And reading, and then just like I think it's reading, writing, watching, and just watching people around you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just constantly turning yourself into a vessel where you process a lot of things that's happening and then just output stuff.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I think, yeah. I think it's the way that we feel alive.
Yes.
But that being said, also take vacations, like when I need to.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're all taking this in right now for our lives, okay? So thank you very much. No, Robin, thank you so much. It's so nice to actually have you do this with you in person. Looking forward to having your film at the festival. But thank you very much for this fantastic film.
Oh, thank you so much to you, Danny.
Thank you.
It's great to see you in person.
Yay!
Finally.